Friends, it's Pastor Veronica here with a story just for you. We are continuing to read some classic fairy tales out of the Bedtime book by Daniel Souci. So today's story that I have for you is one called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. What I'll do is I'll read the story and then I'll show you the beautiful illustrations that are included in it. Are you ready for this story? Before we begin, I just want to remind you that every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. we have story time. You can find it first on our Facebook page, but after that, you can find all of our stories on our website, www.colleenemanuel.com, or you can look them up on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and do a search for Emmanuel Lutheran Colleen. And of course, all of our past stories are also available under our video section on our Facebook page as well. So if you missed one or two, or this is your first time and you want to catch up, go ahead and check out all those past videos and take a look and see what you think. Of course, if you have a favorite story that I haven't shared with you, please let me know and I'll see what I can do to share that story on one of our Tuesday or Thursday evenings. With that, I'll begin with our story for tonight. The Sorcerer's Apprentice. A man one day found himself needing a helper for his workshop, so he decided to search for an apprentice. On the very first day of his search, he had not walked far from the cottage in which he lived when he met a boy walking through the woods. Now it so happened that the lad was just setting out to make his fortune in the world, so he was quite pleased when the man said to him, "I need an apprentice. Can you read and write?" "Indeed I can, sir," said the eager lad. "What a shame," said the man. "I can't use you then. I am looking for someone who can neither read nor write." "Excuse me, sir," said the quick-witted lad. "I guess I have misunderstood you. Read and write, did you say? I'm afraid I can't read or write at all, not one single word." "Very good then," said the man. "Come to my workshop and I'll put you to work." Now the lad knew perfectly well how to read and write, and it seemed strange to him that a man should want a worker who could do neither. So the new apprentice decided to do his job, but to keep his eyes and ears open. The man led the boy into the little workshop by his cottage. And there we can see him heading into the workshop by his cottage. As soon as the boy entered, he saw that it was a dark and gruesome place. Cobwebs hung from every beam. The shelves sagged with great dusty books, glass speakers, and jars containing mysterious powders and steaming liquids. Over the fire, a giant cauldron boiled and bubbled. So, the lad thought to himself, this new employer of mine must be a sorcerer or a magician. What a lot I can learn from him. With some chance and some charms, I can never go wrong. I might even be able to do some good in the world. And the lad pretended to be very stupid, but all along he was paying close attention to the sorcerer. The lad did everything he was told. Every day he stirred the foul brew that simmered in the cauldron. Every afternoon he ground herbs in the enormous mortar using an enormous pestle. Every evening he fetched wood to start the morning's fire. As the days went by, the apprentice became more and more curious. Just what was the sorcerer up to? More than anything, the boy longed to look at the thick, dusty books on the sorcerer's shelf. He knew they contained all sorts of delicious, mysterious spells. But since he was not supposed to know how to read, the boy didn't dare open them. One night, however, he could wait no longer. Surely, he thought, I can safely take just one peek at one book while my master sleeps. So when the lad was certain the sorcerer was asleep, he crept from bed and carefully took down one of the large books. The pages were a mass of mystic symbols, formulas for spells, and recipes for potions. The apprentice was fascinated, and he found that he could not stop reading. He pored over the ancient pages until dawn, when he crept back to bed again, his head swimming with magic. Every night thereafter, the lad waited until his employer was asleep. Then he studied the books in the sorcerer's library. The more he read, the more convinced he became that his employer was a wicked sorcerer. The boy then thought up a daring plan. Whenever the sorcerer was out during the day, the apprentice practiced casting spells. He turned the cat into a canary, and then back into a cat again. He turned the broom into a rose bush, and then back into a broom again. But one day, the sorcerer returned early and caught the lad in the middle of casting a spell. "Liar," he cried. "You can read and write, and you've stolen my secrets." He rushed to the lad, hoping to toss him out the window, but the apprentice was too swift for him. The boy muttered one of the spells he had learned, and whoosh, turned himself into a bird. But the sorcerer was not to be outdone. He thought quickly, and whoosh, turned himself into a larger bird, and chased the boy as he flew through the woods. Then the lad changed himself into a fish, and jumped into a pond. The sorcerer turned into a bigger fish, and dived after him. The boy turned himself into an even bigger fish, and turned on the sorcerer. To save himself, the sorcerer summoned all his powers, changed himself into a kernel of corn, and lodged himself between two stones beside the pond, beyond the lad's reach. Quick as a wink, the boy turned himself into a rooster and started to try to dig up the kernel of corn. He never did find it, but we do know that this is the day this apprentice became a sorcerer, and from that day to this, he has only used his powers to perform good magic, and the old sorcerer was never seen from again. The end. And there is the final picture. Wow. Isn't that picture beautiful? Well, what a nice ending. The mean old sorcerer wasn't doing magic anymore, and the good-hearted apprentice became a sorcerer and did magic for good only. Well, that was a story of one of our classic fairy tales from our bedtime book, illustrated by Daniel San Souci. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and I want you to remember that God loves you, and so do I. When you do go to bed, sleep well. Good night, friends.